It was a struggle for me to come up with 3 songs on this album. Let's go to the other end of the spectrum.
All right, here we go. That's what you came for, folks.
Let's talk about their worst album. Let's talk about Rancid's worst album. That would be self-titled 2000. I stand behind that. I'll die on this hill. I don't care. Fight me. This album is awful. It was a struggle for me to come up with 3 songs on this album.
See, and I agree with you that, like, compared to almost everything else that they have, it's down there. I think very clearly down there. With that said, I like a lot of this album. I think this album is similar to Let's Go for me in that way, that if they just cut some of this out, there are quite a bit of good songs on there. I just think it's their try hard album. That's why I don't like it, because I think they just kind of tried a little too hard.
Bro,
to be, to do the.
I was listening to the Punk Historian. Shout out to the Punk Historian. And he was saying that it's like his favorite record. And I'm like, it's not a good record, man. It's recorded poorly. Lars's vocals are terrible in this album. It's a try-hard album. It's like exactly that's the perfect term for this record. Now, would I have made a different choice if I was in their shoes? I don't know. Probably not. But I'm not them. I am the fan, and I was so ready for a new record when this came out. I waited. I lost my dad. I'd waited 2 years. I needed a new Rancid album. Dude, the disappointment. Like, you got to think, dude, if I had discovered them with this record, totally different story.
It's funny because I did. This is the record.
Well, yeah, that's what blows me away.
Yeah.
That your opinion is close to mine even. But, like, dude, it's just the production's bad. Lars's vocals are bad. The lyrics are good. And there's a couple of good songs. But, like, overall, dude, I can't even listen to it, man.
It's kind of unfinished. Wouldn't you say? Like, they could have, it's like, it could be a demo and they could go in and make these songs a lot better.
It's because they wanted it to sound punk rock. It's look at us, look how punk we can still be, because they just did this whole reggae thing with Life Won't Wait. I think they were just getting shit on by everybody. They just got self-conscious, and I mean, look at the polar ends on these records, dude. You can't really get much more different than Life Won't Wait in 2000, and those are like consecutive records. And then they go back to being Rancid. It's like they stepped out of the box for like 2 records.
It reminds me so much of like these other. I thought, and I always reference Metallica just because they have a story that everyone knows, and that's part of why I reference it a lot. But like that band does Load and Reload, which kind of you might say are like their Life Won't Wait, sort of like they're going off, and then they come out with Saint Anger, which they think everyone's gonna like it because it's intense. But you're kind of missing the point of why people like you. I think if that's the case in both of those bands' case, like it's not. Yes, you are the biggest badasses because that's just who you are. When you try to do that, then it kind of comes across as something that's not like I don't respect them for putting in like crappily tuned vocals on the self-titled album. Like, no, dude. Rancid is a quality standard. Like it's that hardcore punk rock in that like kind of almost refined way. I'm sure punk rockers would hate to hear that, but that is the best of Rancid.
Dude, they can hate to hear it.
So, but when Rancid is doing, a street punk record like that, it comes off as almost inauthentic to me.
That's my whole gripe with it. I think Lars's vocals crack a bunch in there. Like, dude, if you're screaming so loud your voice is cracking, it's because you're not singing naturally, and you sound awesome. Just sing the right way.
You're a singer.
Like, everything about it, dude. The production, the sound, the song like length, the imagery on the record. Look at Lars's hair on the back. It's like they were really going for this. Like, we're dangerous. We're like, it's like, dude, chill. You make great music,
like,
man.
Trying to make a Casualties album. Just right in the middle of their career, and I do think like the music, like again, we always talk about this is literally the year that like Battle Legends going on tour in support of Blink-182. So I'm sure there was some flexing that they wanted to do of also we still got it kind of thing.
Well, that's my whole gripe.
They showed it much better like 2 years ago or 2 years later, which is funny. Like they've come out with a much more authentic, true to themselves album. I think 3 years later, and it's just weird that exists in their catalog. I find the album just puzzling almost in a way.
It is very puzzling. And like, look, dude, I will say this. When I was listening to it for this video, I've listened to that album so much in the last like 18 months.
You have
that. Do what?
That was that you have because you're always going to you're always like kind of trying to reappraise it.
Because I'm trying to give it a legitimate it just doesn't do it, man. It's just not a good record. The thing is that I don't know what they were feeling like when they made it, but I have to think that I could understand like why they would do this. Just because I don't agree with it doesn't mean anything. They're still my favorite band. I'd still rather listen to that album than most music in the world. So take that for what it is. I own a copy of it. You know what I'm saying? I sell it in my store. I'm not an idiot. Like, I just don't, it would have been better as a different band. Like, let's start it.
Based on a lot of the comment sections, every time you and I talk about it, we have the minority opinion on this.
People love this record. I don't get it.
Album, yeah.
Like, I think it's because people don't listen to it from a musical standpoint. They just go, "Oh, it's fast, angry punk. It's the most punk. It's the most punk.
It hits a lot of the pleasure centers. And if you like Rancid, it checks a lot of the to me,
shit, dude.
You talk about like the artwork. It was always my favorite for the artwork. Like I was attracted to like the artwork and that kind of stuff. Not the artwork, but the imagery, I guess. You know that.
I just brought that up as an example of like what the direction.
No, I know what you mean because it looks. So the artwork is cool because it looks like a street punk artwork because it's approximating that. That's why it's cool.
The cover I like, but Lars's hair, he looked ridiculous in that. Look at the back cover, dude. He looks
I know exactly
fat too.
I used to have that on my I had that on my wall. That's exactly why I know what you're talking about.
So like he looks fat. I felt like I'm being mean, but like I'm trying to find a picture. There it is. Yeah, he doesn't even look like him, dude. Like Matt's got like a mohawk or something. I don't know. It just doesn't even look like them. But I'm very surprised that Brett produced this.
It doesn't sound like that's what you would assume, right? You would assume that maybe they went out and got like, I don't know, Rick Rubin to produce it or something. You would think like they just did something else. That's what you would assume. Because I do credit a lot of their sound to Brett, like to whatever role a producer can have with it. I do think, and they've said like he's the fifth member of the band. I do think he plays an instrumental role in their sound. And I would say though, like they did come in with some Rancid style songs. They just didn't come out with them from this album.
You can tell that this was probably written around the same time that Indestructible was. I mean, Life Won't Wait was, and that they just separated the songs because while I don't like the record as a whole, there are 3 songs that I would say are pretty much bangers. Dead Bodies is one that, like, while I hate to admit it, I do like the song.
Kind of a classic Rancid song. Like one of those classic live bangers. You know, you got that bass line at the beginning.
It's the live song that I like it live. But Radio Havana and Let Me Go are songs that could have fit on Life Won't Wait. They could have fit on Indestructible. So those 2 songs are both really, really genuinely good songs. I put them in playlists. I have them on comps and all that stuff. So I do love those 2 tracks. But man, it is a chore for me to listen to this record, bro. I just don't like it. It's not good, in my opinion. People are going to disagree and hate me for this. This is good. I'm going to clip this out, put it on YouTube, and just get absolutely shit on because they're my favorite band of all time. And, you know, you don't have to agree with me, man. I don't understand why people are going to get in the comments and tell me I'm stupid, wrong, or not punk, or whatever they're going to tell me because I don't like an album. It's the weirdest thing, but it is going to happen. I don't really care, though.
Yeah, and again, I think part of it is, too, because people do legitimately like this album. I have Antennas as one of my 3. It's another one, kind of a sing-along one. And then I have 2 other ones that I think would have been on Out Come the Wolves, basically, or kind of a different vibe, because I have Black Derby Jacket, which I've always interpreted as the sequel to Ruby Soho, but just sung this time because Ruby Soho, I believe, is about Matt and Matt's like relationship situation. I think that's what that song is about. And so I think the follow-up to that song is Black Derby Jacket, where he gives the full extent of it. And then I have, which I always say was my first favorite Rancid song, was Golden Gate Fields. Although I think it was called GGF at the time. And I just thought that was like kind of that classic Rancid thing. Whenever Tim goes into the thing, this is not a Churchill Down, this is not a Hollywood Park. When the field's wide open, I'll pick the horse that's got the biggest heart. Like to me, that's a Rancid. That's like an Out Come the Wolves sort of like tear, heart wrenching kind of line. And I've always liked the little part at the end where he goes back to the East Bay and runs into his friend Big L, and the whole thing about Big L not doing so well. Like there's no real point to it. It's just something I've always liked, and I always liked how this is Rancid. We'll see you next time when they sign up. I've always just liked the vibe of that song. You talk about like 7 years down or some of those songs not going to the end of the albums. That's when I definitely would always go to the end of with the Golden Gate Fields. Also, shout out to Rwanda and Radio Havana because those are just fun songs too.
Well, I'm a little surprised that we disagree on the top 3 for that album, but it's not something I would worry about. I think it's going to be funny in like 15 more years when I just totally flip my script.
But it's your favorite album.
I suddenly love this record because that could happen. And
I did it with Blink 03, man. I did it with Blink 03. It can happen.
God, that record sucks so
bad. I got
bad.
a shirt now. I got a shirt that my mom has to wash because it's white, pink, and neon green. That's what's going on.
Dude, I hate that album. I tried to like that record. I just don't, man. Okay, let's move on.